Princess Vayara stepped off her royal transport with the grace expected of Caltharian nobility. Her silver skin shimmered under the station lights, and her ceremonial robes flowed behind her, like liquid metal. She was beautiful by any species standards, and she knew it. More importantly, she was intelligent, educated, and far superior to most beings in the galaxy. At least, that was what she believed. The diplomatic station orbiting Nexus Prime bustled with activity. Delegates from 40 different species had gathered for the Mineral Rights Summit. The Kelvor Belt contained rare elements worth fortunes, and everyone wanted their share. Vayara would negotiate for the Caltharian Empire, and she would win. She always won. 6 royal guards surrounded her, their armor gleaming with advanced technology. Each warrior carried weapons that could level a building. Their helmets displayed tactical information directly to their minds through neural links. They were the best of the best, trained since childhood to protect the royal family. Station Commander Phillips greeted her at the airlock. He was a Droxian, tall and covered in blue scales. He bowed respectfully. "Welcome, Princess Vayara. Your quarters are prepared. We have assigned additional security for your stay." Vayara nodded. "That will not be necessary. My guards are sufficient." "I understand, Your Highness." However, Terran Defense Corps has provided an escort as part of the security agreement. He is waiting to meet you. Vayara's eyes narrowed. "A human? You assigned a human to protect me?" Commander Phillips shifted uncomfortably. "It was part of the treaty arrangements," the Terran government insisted. "How insulting." Vayara's voice carried across the docking bay. Several nearby delegates turned to look. Humans are barely capable of protecting themselves. They have no natural abilities, no telepathy, no enhanced strength. They die after barely a century. "And you expect one to guard a Caltharian princess?" A voice spoke from behind her. "Commander Kyle Harrison, Terran Defense Corps. Reporting for duty, Your Highness." Vayara turned. The human stood at attention, his uniform plain and simple. He was average height for his species, perhaps 1.8 meters. Brown hair, brown eyes, unremarkable features. His uniform bore a single rank insignia and no decorations. He looked like a clerk, not a warrior. "This is a joke," Vayara said, not bothering to lower her voice. "Send him away." "Ah," Kyle remained still. "I have my orders, ma'am. I will be your assigned security escort for the duration of the summit. I have 6 elite guards. I do not need a primitive human following me around." "Understood, ma'am. I will stay out of your way." Vayara studied him with disgust. His calm acceptance of her insults only proved how stupid he was. A warrior with pride would have reacted. This human just stood there like a trained animal. "Fine. Stay out of my sight." She swept past him toward her quarters. Kyle followed at a respectful distance. Vayara could hear his footsteps behind her, steady and quiet. It irritated her more than open defiance would have. Her quarters were luxurious, as expected. The station had provided a full suite with meeting rooms, sleeping chambers, and a private garden. Vayara's guards swept the area, checking for threats. Kyle stood by the entrance, watching but not interfering. When the guards finished, Kyle stepped forward. "Permission to conduct my own security check, Your Highness." "My guards have already checked everything. Your services are not needed." "Yes, ma'am. I will check anyway." The audacity made Vayara's skin flush darker silver. "You dare to question Caltharian security procedures?" "No, ma'am. Just doing my job." Kyle walked through the quarters methodically. He examined the ventilation system, scanned the windows, and tested the door locks. He pulled out a small device and waved it around the room. The guards watched him with amusement. "What is that primitive tool?" one guard asked in Caltharian, not bothering to translate for the human's benefit. Kyle responded in perfect Caltharian. "Standard energy scanner. Checking for listening devices or explosives." The guards looked surprised. Vayara was annoyed, so the human had learned their language. That proved nothing except that humans were good at copying their betters. Kyle finished his sweep. Everything appears secure. I will post schedule and movement protocols in the morning. Good night, Your Highness. He left before she could dismiss him. The opening ceremony began the next morning. Vayara wore her finest diplomatic robes, dark purple with silver threading that caught the light. She took her place among the delegates, her guards standing behind her. Kyle appeared wearing the same plain uniform. He positioned himself near the wall, practically invisible among the ornate decorations and colorful delegates. Vayara ignored him. The ceremony proceeded smoothly. Each species presented their preliminary positions. Vayara delivered the Keltharian statement with perfect eloquence, outlining why her people deserved the largest share of mining rights. Her telepathic abilities let her sense the crowd's reactions, adjusting her words for maximum impact. During a break, Kyle approached her. Your Highness, I noticed some irregularities I would like to report. What nonsense are you talking about? There is a maintenance worker who has appeared in 3 different sections this morning. His credentials check out, but his movement pattern is unusual. Also, I detected an energy signature in the ventilation system that does not match station specifications. Vayara stared at him. You are seeing threats where none exist. This is a diplomatic summit with the highest security in the sector. Yes, ma'am. I still recommend additional screening protocols. Recommendation denied. Stop wasting my time with paranoid fantasies. Kyle nodded and stepped back. Vayara saw him speaking into his communicator, probably reporting to station security. Let him embarrass himself. That evening, she met with her advisors to discuss strategy. The Vraxian Confederation was their main competition for mining rights. The Vraxians were aggressive and had significant military power. But Vayara was confident she could out-negotiate them. Kyle stood outside the meeting room, silent and still. When Vayara emerged 2 hours later, he was in the exact same position. Do you never rest? She asked, not really caring about the answer. I sleep when you sleep, Your Highness. When you are awake, I am on duty. How dedicated, she said mockingly. Tell me, human, why did they send you? Did your superiors want to insult me specifically? Or are all humans this unremarkable? Kyle's expression did not change. I go where I am ordered, ma'am. No pride, no fire, no spirit. Your species truly is pathetic. She walked past him toward her quarters. That night, Vayara contacted her father on the secure quantum link. The Emperor listened to her complaints about the human escort. Daughter, the Terrans insisted on providing security. It was a condition of their participation in the summit. We need their vote on the Mining Council. But father, he is useless. Worse than useless, he is distracting. Then ignore him. You have your guards. Let the humans stand around and feel important. It costs us nothing. Vayara agreed, though it still bothered her. She was a princess of the Keltharian Empire. She deserved better than a primitive human shadow. Kyle stood outside her quarters all night. She knew because she checked the security feed once before sleeping. There he was, standing perfectly still, eyes alert, watching the corridor. What a waste, she thought. The human probably believed he was protecting her. He did not understand that she was so far above him that they might as well be different species. Well, they were different species, but she was superior in every way that mattered. Tomorrow she would request his removal through official channels. Commander Phillips would have to listen if she made it a formal complaint. She would be rid of the useless human escort and could focus on winning the negotiations. Vayara fell asleep, confident in her plans, unaware that the unremarkable human standing guard outside her door had already identified the 12 assassins who would try to kill her the next day. The second day of the summit began with formal presentations. Each delegation outlined their proposed distribution of mining rights in the Kelvor belt. The mathematics were complex, but the politics were simple. Everyone wanted more than they deserved, and no one wanted to compromise. Vayara sat through the morning sessions with practiced patience. She had heard it all before. The Vraxians demanded territory based on military strength. The Centauri coalition wanted equal shares regardless of contribution. The smaller species formed voting blocks to increase their leverage. Kyle stood near the entrance to the assembly hall. Vayara had stopped noticing him, which she supposed was his goal. He was like furniture. Present but irrelevant. During the lunch break, Vayara delivered her formal proposal. She spoke for 20 minutes without notes, outlining the Keltharian position with perfect logic. Her telepathic senses told her the audience was impressed. Several delegates shifted their positions slightly in her favor. The Vraxian ambassador challenged her calculations. Vayara demolished his arguments with cold facts and elegant reasoning. By the time she finished, the Vraxian delegation looked embarrassed. It was a good day. Kyle approached her as she left the podium. "Excellent presentation, Your Highness." Quote, "I do not need your approval, human." "No, ma'am. I am just observing that your negotiation skills are impressive." Was he mocking her? Vayara could not tell. His face showed nothing but professional respect. She decided he was too stupid to mock anyone. "Have you found any more imaginary threats?" she asked. "Actually, yes. The same maintenance worker is still moving through secure areas. I also identified 2 Vraxian security personnel, conducting unusual surveillance. And there was a cargo delivery this morning without proper documentation." Vayara sighed. "You reported these observations?" "Yes, ma'am. Station security found no violations." "Because there are no violations, you are jumping at shadows." "Perhaps, Your Highness." Kyle said nothing more. Vayara returned to her quarters to prepare for the evening's formal dinner. It was the most important social event of the summit, where real deals were made away from public record. She chose her outfit carefully. Deep blue robes that matched her eyes. Silver jewelry that represented her royal status. Her guards wore ceremonial armor, polished to a mirror shine. They looked magnificent. Kyle appeared in the same plain uniform he always wore. Vayara wondered if he owned any other clothes. Probably not. Humans were known for their lack of sophistication. The grand hall was beautiful. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting rainbow light across the room. Tables were arranged in a circle, allowing delegates to see and be seen. Music played softly, something classical from the Andorian homeworld. Vayara took her assigned seat at the primary table. Her guards positioned themselves behind her, ready to serve and protect. Kyle moved to the entrance, finding a spot where he could observe the entire room. Dinner began with the traditional toasts. Each species offered good wishes for successful negotiations. The food was excellent, specially prepared to accommodate 40 different biological needs. Vayara enjoyed a dish made from imported Keltharian sea plants. Conversation flowed easily. She spoke with the Centauri ambassador about trade agreements. The Draxian representative complimented her presentation. Even some Vraxian delegates were polite, though their smiles did not reach their eyes. Halfway through the main course, the lights flickered. Vayara barely noticed. Probably just a power fluctuation. But she saw Kyle move. He went from relaxed observation to intense focus in an instant. His hand touched his communicator. The lights flickered again. Then everything happened at once. The ceiling panels exploded outward. 12 figures dropped into the grand hall, landing in perfect formation. They wore black suits that shimmered and bent light, making them hard to see clearly. Each carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. The first shot fired before most delegates realized what was happening. A beam of superheated plasma screamed across the room, aimed directly at Vayara's head. She never saw it coming. But Kyle did. The human crossed 15 meters in less than 3 seconds. He slammed into Vayara, knocking her from her chair. The plasma bolt vaporized the space where her head had been, melting the chair into smoking slag. They hit the floor hard. Vayara's breath left her lungs in a rush. Kyle was already moving, dragging her behind an overturned table. Chaos erupted. Delegates screamed and ran for exits. Guards drew weapons. The 12 assassins spread out with military precision, their plasma rifles tracking targets. Vayara's royal guards reacted with trained speed. 3 of them formed a defensive line, raising their energy shields. The other three moved to flank the attackers. The assassins fired in coordinated bursts. One guard's shield overloaded, and the next shot burned through his chest armor. He fell without a sound. Another guard returned fire, but the assassins moved too fast, their camouflage suits bending light around them. Two more guards died in the first 10 seconds. Vayara pressed herself against the floor behind the table. Her mind could not process what was happening. This was a diplomatic summit. There were security protocols. How had 12 armed assassins penetrated the station's defenses? Kyle crouched beside her, his eyes scanning the room with absolute focus. He was not panicking. He was not afraid. He was calculating. "Stay down," he said. His voice was completely different from the polite, deferential tone he had used before. This was the voice of someone who gave orders and expected them to be followed. "My guards," Vayara started, "are brave but outmatched. Stay down." 3 of her royal guards were dead. The remaining 3 had taken cover behind pillars, trying to return fire. But the assassins moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing in the flickering light. Their weapons were better. Their tactics were better. The assassins advanced in a practiced pattern, converging on Vayara's position. They knew exactly where she was. This was not random violence. This was a planned execution. Kyle touched his communicator. "All units. This is Harrison. 12 hostiles in the Grand Hall. Military-grade equipment. Targeting Princess Vayara. I am engaging." "Engaging?" Vayara looked at the human in disbelief. He was not wearing armor. He carried no visible weapons. What could he possibly do against 12 professional killers? The assassins were 30 meters away now. One of them fired a grenade that arced through the air. It would land right behind their table in 3 seconds. Kyle moved. He grabbed Vayara and rolled them both away from the table. The grenade exploded, sending shrapnel and fire in all directions. The table they had been hiding behind disintegrated. They came up behind a support pillar. Vayara's ears rang from the explosion. Her robes were torn and dirty. Blood ran from a cut on her arm. Kyle checked her quickly. "Can you run?" Yes. When I say go, run to the emergency exit. Do not stop. Do not look back." "What about you?" Kyle looked at her, and for the first time since they met, Vayara saw what was really in his eyes. Not fear, not uncertainty, just cold, absolute determination. "I am going to stop them. You cannot fight 12 armed soldiers alone. You are just human?" Kyle smiled, but there was nothing friendly in it. "Your Highness, I have been trying to keep you safe quietly. But quiet is not working anymore." The assassins opened fire on their position. Plasma bolts hit the pillar, melting stone and metal. They had maybe 5 seconds before the pillar failed. Kyle stood up. He stepped out from cover and started walking toward the 12 assassins. Vayara watched in horror as every weapon turned toward him. 12 plasma rifles aimed at one unarmed human. They all fired at once, and Kyle moved. He did not run. He did not dodge wildly. He simply was not where the shots went. His body flowed like water. Each step perfect. Each movement precise. Plasma bolts passed millimeters from his skin, but none of them touched him. The assassins adjusted their aim and fired again. Kyle slid under the shots, rolled to the side, and kept walking forward. His face showed absolute focus, like this was just another training exercise. Vayara's remaining guards stared in shock. The other delegates who had not escaped yet watched from their hiding places. No one had ever seen anything like this. Kyle crossed the distance to the first assassin in seconds. The killer tried to shoot him point blank, but Kyle was already inside the weapon's arc. He grabbed the rifle, twisted it out of the assassin's hands, and reversed it in one smooth motion. The rifle fired, and a second assassin fell. Kyle used the first assassin's body as a shield, pushing forward into the group. He threw the man into 2 others, sending them sprawling. His movements were efficient, brutal, and absolutely without hesitation. This was not the quiet, polite escort who had followed Vayara around for 2 days. This was something else entirely. This was a human warrior, and he was done pretending to be harmless. Kyle moved through the assassins like a force of nature. Vayara watched from behind the pillar, unable to look away. Everything she thought she knew about humans was wrong. The remaining 10 assassins realized their mistake. They spread out, trying to create crossfire angles. Their training was excellent. They communicated through hand signals and moved as a unit. But Kyle adapted faster. He threw the captured plasma rifle at one assassin, hitting the weapon with enough force to crack it. The rifle exploded in a small burst of energy, blinding 2 nearby attackers. Kyle was already moving, sliding across the polished floor toward a fallen guard's weapon. 3 assassins fired at once. Kyle rolled, came up on one knee, and grabbed a serving platter from a nearby table. The heavy metal disc deflected one plasma bolt into the ceiling. He threw the platter like a spinning blade. It hit an assassin's helmet with a crack that echoed through the hall. The killer dropped. 9 left. Vayara's 3 surviving guards tried to help. They provided suppressing fire from their positions behind pillars, but Kyle shouted at them in perfect military Caltharian, using codes and tactics they recognized instantly. Guard Alpha, suppress left flank. 3-round bursts. Guard Beta, high-angle fire on my mark. Guard Gamma, watch the balcony. They obeyed without thinking. Suddenly, they were not 3 confused soldiers, but a coordinated team under a single commander. Their fire became precise and purposeful. Kyle used their covering fire to advance. An assassin tried to flank him, coming in from the side with a molecular blade. The weapon could cut through almost anything, its edge vibrating at frequencies that separated molecules. The assassin was fast. The blade came in at Kyle's throat in a professional strike. But Kyle was faster. He ducked under the swing, grabbed the assassin's wrist, and used the man's own momentum to throw him over his shoulder. The assassin hit the ground hard. Kyle took the molecular blade and threw it in one motion. The blade spun through the air and hit another assassin in the shoulder, cutting through his armor. The man screamed and fell. 7 left. The remaining assassins activated personal energy shields. Blue barriers of crackling force surrounded each one. The shields would stop most weapons. They regrouped, forming a firing line. Kyle dropped flat as they opened fire. Plasma bolts filled the air above him. He grabbed a fallen plasma rifle, checked the charge indicator with one glance, and returned fire. But he did not aim at the shields. He aimed at the floor beneath the assassin's feet. The stone exploded, throwing them off balance. He aimed at the ceiling above them, bringing down debris. He aimed at their weapons, hitting the power cells and causing feedback. Each shot was perfect. No wasted ammunition, no missed targets. Kyle fired like someone who had been doing this his entire life. An assassin's shield failed from the sustained barrage. Kyle's next shot hit him center mass. The man went down. 6 left. The assassins tried to retreat to better positions. Kyle did not let them. He threw the empty rifle at one, hitting him in the knee. The man stumbled, and Kyle was there instantly. He disarmed the assassin with 3 quick strikes, took his weapon, and used the man as a shield against his own teammates. The assassins hesitated. They could not shoot without hitting their own man. That second of hesitation was all Kyle needed. He threw the assassin into 2 others, bowling them over. He rolled forward, grabbed a chair, and threw it at another shield. The chair shattered, but the impact disrupted the shield's frequency. Kyle fired through the gap, and another assassin fell. 5 left. Vayara could not believe what she was seeing. Kyle was outnumbered, outgunned, and unarmored. But he was winning. Every movement was calculated. Every action had a purpose. He did not waste energy or motion. It was like watching a predator hunt. The thought struck her hard. That was exactly what he was. A predator from a death world. One assassin broke from the group, trying to reach the emergency exit. Kyle did not chase him. He grabbed a plasma pistol from a fallen guard, aimed without really looking, and fired. The shot hit the door control panel, fusing it shut. The exit was sealed. The assassin turned back, trapped. Kyle was already dealing with the others. Two assassins charged him together, using their shields as battering rams. Kyle jumped onto a table, then vaulted over them. While in the air, he grabbed a crystal chandelier and swung, changing his trajectory. He landed behind the charging assassins and shot both in the back where their shields did not reach. 3 left. The last 3 assassins realized they were going to die. One pulled a thermal grenade from his belt. If he could not kill the princess, he would destroy any evidence of who hired them. Kyle saw the movement. He threw his pistol with perfect accuracy, hitting the man's hand. The grenade fell but did not detonate yet. It had a 3-second timer. Kyle ran toward it. The assassins fired at him, but he zigzagged, making himself an impossible target. He reached the grenade, scooped it up in one smooth motion, and threw it through a window. It exploded outside the station in a ball of fire that lit up the void. 2 left. These final 2 were the best. They moved in perfect coordination, covering each other's blind spots. They had abandoned their failing shields and relied on speed and skill instead. They came at Kyle from different angles, one high, one low. Plasma bolts and molecular blades working together. It was a technique that would have killed almost anyone. Kyle dropped his weapon. He grabbed a piece of debris, blocked the molecular blade, and kicked the wielder in the chest. The man flew backward. Kyle spun, caught the other assassin's rifle, and yanked it forward. The assassin did not let go, so he came with it. Kyle headbutted him through his cracked helmet. The man crumpled. 1 left. The final assassin stood alone. He looked at his 11 fallen comrades, then at the human who had defeated them all. His hand moved toward another grenade. Kyle was faster. He crossed the distance in a heartbeat, grabbed the assassin's arm, and twisted. The grenade fell harmlessly to the floor. Kyle deactivated it with a quick press of his thumb, then set it down gently. The assassin tried to fight. He was good, trained in at least 3 different combat styles. But Kyle was better. Within seconds, the assassin was on the ground, his weapons scattered, his armor cracked. Kyle secured the man's hands with emergency restraints he pulled from his belt. Then he stood up and looked around the grand hall. 12 assassins lay defeated. Some dead, some unconscious, some groaning in pain. The entire fight had lasted 90 seconds. Kyle's breathing was heavy but controlled. A thin cut on his cheek bled slightly. His uniform was torn in places, but he was alive and functional. He immediately began checking the fallen assassins, securing weapons, and calling for medical teams. His voice was calm and professional, like he had just finished a routine task. Station security, this is Harrison. Grand Hall is secure. 12 hostiles down, requesting medical teams and evidence collection. Princess Vayara is safe. Vayara stood up slowly from behind her pillar. Her legs felt weak, her hands shook. She had just watched something impossible. Her 3 surviving guards came out of cover, staring at Kyle with expressions of shock and respect. They were elite warriors, the best the Caltharian Empire could produce, and they had just watched a single human do what they could not. Kyle walked over to Vayara. "Are you injured, Your Highness?" She looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time. His eyes were alert, scanning for additional threats. His stance was balanced, ready to move again if needed. There was nothing unremarkable about him anymore. No, just a small cut. May I see?" She showed him her arm. Kyle examined the wound quickly and professionally. "Shallow, should heal fine. We should still have medical check you. Who are you?" The question came out as a whisper. Kyle looked at her. For a moment, she thought he would deflect or make a joke. But he just said, "Someone who takes his job seriously, ma'am." Station security poured into the grand hall. Commander Phillips led them, his blue scales pale with shock. He stared at the scene, unable to process what he was seeing. "Harrison, report." Kyle gave a concise summary. 12 attackers, professional-grade equipment. coordinated assault pattern. He identified probable origins for each assassin, based on their tactics and gear. He noted which weapons came from which manufacturers. He detailed the sequence of events with perfect recall. Commander Phillips looked at Vayara. "Your Highness, are you harmed?" "I am alive because of him," she pointed at Kyle. The commander nodded slowly. "We will need full statements from everyone. Medical teams are standing by." "Your Majesty, I must inform you that this will require a full investigation. The summit may be delayed." "Do what you must," Vayara said. But she did not look at the commander. She kept looking at Kyle, who was helping medical personnel treat the wounded. Even the assassins who had tried to kill her. He moved with the same quiet efficiency he had shown when conducting security sweeps of her quarters. Like defeating 12 trained killers was just another part of his duties. Vayara's father would hear about this. The entire Keltharian Empire would hear about this. A single human had saved her life, while her own elite guards had fallen, and she had called him worthless. She had mocked him, insulted him, treated him like he was beneath her notice. Shame burned through her. But more than that, she felt something she had never expected to feel toward a human: respect. The medical bay was crowded with injured delegates and security personnel. Vayara sat on an examination table while a doctor treated her arm. The cut was minor, already sealed with synthetic skin, but the doctor insisted on a full check for shock and other injuries. Kyle stood near the door, refusing treatment until everyone else had been seen. He had a cut on his face, bruises forming on his arms, and probably cracked ribs. But he would not leave his post. Vayara watched him from across the room. He looked tired now, the adrenaline wearing off. But his eyes still scanned constantly, looking for threats. Commander Phillips entered with 2 other humans. One was an older woman in a formal diplomatic uniform. The other was a younger man with military bearing and a weapon at his hip. The woman approached Vayara and bowed slightly. "Your Highness, I am Ambassador Lisa Garrett of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. I am deeply sorry about what happened today. We are conducting a full investigation." "Your man saved my life," Vayara said. "Kyle Harrison. I want to know who he really is." Lisa glanced at Kyle, who gave a small nod. "Perhaps we should speak in private." They moved to a secure conference room. Vayara's surviving guards came with her. Kyle followed, silent as always. The room's windows showed the stars outside, peaceful and eternal. Lisa activated a privacy field. "What I am about to tell you is classified information. Commander Harrison's service record is not public knowledge." "Go on," Vayara said. "Kyle Harrison is not a simple escort. He is a former member of Terran Special Operations Command, specifically the Ghost program. He has 17 years of active service across 40 different operations. He holds the highest combat rating in human military history." Vayara looked at Kyle. He stood at ease, face neutral. "Why was this kept secret?" "Because that is how he works best," Lisa said. "Commander Harrison specializes in protective operations where the threat is unknown or uncertain. He has prevented 4 major assassination attempts, stopped 2 terrorist attacks, and rescued hostages from situations others considered impossible. His success comes from being underestimated." "He certainly achieved that," Vayara said quietly. Lisa continued. "We received intelligence 3 weeks ago suggesting an attempt would be made on your life during the summit. The source was uncertain, the details vague, but Terran intelligence believed the threat was real. We requested permission to assign Commander Harrison to your security detail, and I complained about him every day." Vayara said. "Yes, Your Highness." Kyle heard every word. Vayara felt heat rise to her face. She looked at Kyle. "I apologize. I did not know." "No apology necessary, Your Highness. You were right, that I am unremarkable." "That is the point. You are far from unremarkable." Kyle allowed himself a small smile. "I am exactly as remarkable as I need to be for the situation. Today required more than usual." One of Vayara's guards spoke up. "The combat codes you used. Where did you learn advanced Keltharian military tactics?" I have trained with Keltharian forces twice. Your techniques are excellent, particularly for defensive formations. I adapted them for the situation. The guard looked impressed. You fought like 3 men. I fought like 1 human with proper training and motivation, Kyle corrected. Lisa brought up a holographic display. The assassins have been identified. They were hired by elements within the Vraxian Confederation who opposed the mining treaty. They wanted to destabilize the negotiations by killing a prominent delegate. Why me specifically? Vayara asked. Because your death would have triggered a Keltharian military response. The Vraxians could then claim the summit was unsafe and demand it be moved to their territory. It was a political play that required your assassination. Vayara felt cold. Politics, she understood. But actually trying to kill someone for political advantage seemed barbaric. Kyle spoke quietly. I identified the threat early, Your Highness. The maintenance worker, the energy signatures, the suspicious cargo. I reported everything, but there was no proof until they attacked. I am sorry I could not prevent the attack entirely. You have nothing to apologize for. You saved my life. That was my job. There was that quiet professionalism again. Vayara was beginning to understand it was not stupidity or lack of pride. It was discipline. Kyle did his job, without need for recognition or praise. He simply did what needed to be done. Why do you carry no weapons? She asked. I saw you fight. You are clearly trained, but you went into that battle unarmed. Kyle looked thoughtful. May I speak freely, Your Highness? Please. Weapons can be taken, blocked, or fail. But a human who knows how to fight never runs out of ammunition. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We did not have venom or claws or telepathy. We had persistence, adaptability, and intelligence. Those traits do not run out. One of the guards said, Earth is classified as a death world. Gravity 30% higher than standard, extreme weather, dangerous predators. How do your people survive? We do not just survive, Kyle said. We thrive. Every human carries millions of years of evolution. From a planet that demanded we be strong, smart, and stubborn, we learned to make tools, work together, and never give up. Those 12 assassins had better equipment. But humans do not need better equipment. We make do with what we have. Vayara studied him. You speak of humanity with pride. Vayara studied him soft. I have reason to be proud. We are a young species in galactic terms. We have only been traveling the stars for 2 generations. But we have earned our place through hard work and courage. I never thought of it that way. Vayara admitted. I saw humans as primitive. Because you lack our telepathy and long lifespans. We are primitive in some ways, Kyle agreed. But primitive does not mean weak. Sometimes the old ways work best. Lisa smiled. Commander Harrison is being modest. Humanity has contributed significantly to galactic culture. Our art, music, and literature are studied across 40 systems. Our medical research has saved millions of lives. And our military forces have proven themselves in peacekeeping operations. Then why do so many species look down on humans? Vayara asked. Kyle answered. Because we are different. We value different things. We think differently. And difference makes people uncomfortable. They would rather dismiss us than try to understand us. Vayara felt the truth of those words. She had dismissed Kyle because he was different from what she expected. She had not even tried to see his value. I have made a terrible mistake, she said. I judged your entire species based on ignorance and prejudice. Many do, Kyle said without bitterness. It is not personal. It should not happen at all. Vayara stood. Ambassador Garrett, I wish to make a formal statement. Commander Harrison saved my life through courage, skill, and dedication to duty. He represents the best qualities of humanity. I will be informing my father, the Emperor, of this. The Keltharian Empire owes a debt to your people. Lisa bowed. Your words are generous, Your Highness. They are deserved. Vayara turned to Kyle. I wish for you to remain as my escort for the remainder of the summit. But this time, I ask out of respect, not protocol. Kyle nodded. I serve at your request, Your Highness, and I promise to listen when you identify threats. Your paranoia, as I called it, saved my life. It is not paranoia if they really are trying to kill you, Kyle said with a slight smile. For the first time since they met, Vayara smiled back. The conversation continued for another hour. Lisa explained the investigation's progress. The captured assassins were providing information in exchange for reduced sentences. The Vraxian government was denying involvement, but evidence suggested otherwise. As the meeting ended, Vayara spoke to Kyle privately. May I ask you something personal? Of course. How many times have you nearly died protecting someone? Kyle thought about it. Honestly, I stopped counting after the first dozen. And yet you continue. Someone has to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is what humans do. We look after each other, and we extend that protection to our allies, even when those allies have treated you poorly, even then. Because doing the right thing is not conditional on being appreciated. Vayara felt her respect for this human grow even deeper. Your people are fortunate to have you. I am fortunate to serve a purpose I believe in, Kyle said. Protecting life, preventing wars, building bridges between species. That work matters more than my pride. They walked together back to Vayara's quarters. The station was still in lockdown, but security had been tripled. Kyle checked her rooms thoroughly before allowing her to enter. Will you rest now? Vayara asked. After you are secure for the night. You need medical attention. Those injuries can wait a few more hours. My orders are clear. Vayara shook her head. Then I order you to seek medical treatment now. I will be safe with my guards. Kyle hesitated, then nodded. Yes, Your Highness. Thank you. As he turned to leave, Vayara called after him. Kyle? He stopped and looked back. Thank you for saving my life. And thank you for showing me that I have much to learn about humanity. Kyle smiled. A genuine expression that reached his eyes. We all have much to learn about each other, Your Highness. That is what makes the galaxy interesting. He left, and Vayara sat down slowly. Her guards stood watch, silent and respectful. She had come to this summit believing she was superior to most species, especially humans. One day, and one battle had shattered that arrogance completely. Tomorrow, she would continue the negotiations. But she would do so with a new perspective and a new ally. Perhaps that was worth more than any mining rights. The final day of the summit began under heavy security. Armed guards patrolled every corridor. Every delegate passed through advanced scanners. Commander Phillips had tripled the security staff and implemented protocols that should have been in place from the beginning. Vayara walked through the station with Kyle at her side. This time, she paid attention to what he was doing. She noticed how his eyes never stopped moving, how he positioned himself between her and potential threats, how he evaluated every person they passed. The other delegates noticed the change too. Word had spread about the human who defeated 12 assassins. Several species approached the Terran delegation with new interest and respect. The Centauri ambassador stopped Vayara in the corridor. Your Highness, I heard about yesterday's attack. I am relieved you are safe. Thanks to Commander Harrison, Vayara said, gesturing to Kyle. The Centauri looked at Kyle with curiosity. Is it true you fought them all alone? The princess's guards provided critical support, Kyle said. It was a team effort. Modest, the Centauri said. I appreciate that quality. After the ambassador left, Vayara said quietly, You could have taken credit. You earned it. Credit does not matter. The mission's success matters. They entered the assembly hall together. The room had been repaired overnight. Those scorch marks still showed on some pillars. The delegates took their seats with nervous energy. Death had visited them yesterday. It made everyone reassess priorities. The summit's chairman, a Draxian diplomat named Kelvor, called the session to order. We have 1 day to finalize the mining treaty. Yesterday's tragedy reminds us that some wish to see us fail. I propose we prove them wrong by reaching agreement today. The negotiations proceeded with new urgency. Delegates who had been stubborn before now showed flexibility. The Vraxian delegation was notably quiet, their government still denying involvement in the assassination attempt despite mounting evidence. Vayara delivered her final position, but this time, she included something new. The Keltharian Empire proposes an amendment. Any species signing this treaty gains not just mining rights, but mutual defense obligations. If one signatory is attacked, all signatories respond. We must stand together. The room erupted in discussion. This was not about minerals anymore. This was about alliances. The Terran ambassador, Lisa Garrett, stood. Humanity supports this amendment. We believe cooperation and mutual defense make all species stronger. Other delegates began to agree. By the afternoon, the amended treaty had enough votes to pass. The Kelvor belt would be shared among 17 species, and those species would defend each other. It was a historic moment. The assassination attempt had backfired completely, creating unity instead of division. During the signing ceremony, Vayara stood with her father on the quantum link. Emperor Thalen listened as she described everything that had happened. A human saved your life, he said thoughtfully. Tell me about this, Commander Harrison. Vayara described Kyle in detail. His skills, his humility, his dedication. The Emperor listened without interruption. Daughter, you have learned something valuable. Power takes many forms. The Keltharians pride themselves on telepathy and technology. But this human demonstrated different strengths. Yes, Father. I was wrong about humanity. About many things. Good leaders admit mistakes and learn from them. I am proud of you. After the conversation ended, Vayara found Kyle in the security office. He was reviewing reports with station personnel, helping them understand how the assassins had penetrated their defenses. Do you have a moment? Vayara asked. Kyle excused himself and joined her in the corridor. How can I help? Your Highness, walk with me. They went to an observation deck overlooking the planet below. Stars filled the windows, beautiful and infinite. What will you do after the summit? Vayara asked. Kyle was quiet for a moment. I have been considering retirement from active duty. 17 years is a long time. I would like to teach, pass on what I have learned to younger soldiers. That would be a waste of your talents. Teaching is not a waste. Creating the next generation of protectors might be the most important work I can do. Vayara turned to face him. I have a different proposal. The Keltharian Empire needs to understand humans better. Our telepathy makes us good at reading other Keltharians, but we struggle with species who think differently. We could benefit from human perspective on security, tactics, and conflict resolution. You want me to work for the Keltharian Empire? I want to propose an exchange program. Human instructors would train Keltharian forces in your combat philosophy and tactics. In exchange, Keltharian scientists would share advanced medical technology with humanity. It would be a partnership between equals. Kyle looked surprised. That is a generous offer. It is a practical one. Yesterday proved that humanity has much to teach us. And I suspect we have things you could use as well. I cannot make such decisions alone. This would require approval from Terran Command and your Emperor. I will propose it through proper diplomatic channels, Vayara said. But I wanted to know if you would be interested in leading such a program. Kyle looked out at the stars. Teaching Keltharian warriors while learning from Keltharian scientists? That sounds like exactly the kind of challenge I would enjoy. Then I hope it happens. They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Vayara realized how much had changed in 3 days. She had arrived thinking she was better than this human. Now she valued his opinion more than most advisors. May I ask you something? Kyle said. Of course. When you first met me, you saw a primitive human who was beneath your notice. What do you see now? Vayara considered the question carefully. I see someone who taught me that strength comes in forms I did not recognize. I see a warrior who fights with skill and honor. Most importantly, I see a friend. Kyle smiled. That is probably the kindest thing anyone has ever said to me. It is simply the truth. The signing ceremony concluded that evening with a formal dinner. This time, security was perfect. Kyle had personally reviewed every protocol. Vayara wore silver robes that sparkled like starlight. She took her place at the head table with other senior delegates. Kyle stood nearby, watchful as always. The Centauri ambassador proposed a toast. To new alliances and mutual respect. May we remember that strength comes in many forms. Everyone drank. Vayara caught Kyle's eye and nodded. He returned the gesture. After dinner, Vayara presented Kyle with a gift. It was a Keltharian honor crystal, a prism that caught light and split it into rainbows. This represents clarity and truth. You showed me truth through your actions. I will never forget that lesson. Kyle accepted the gift with genuine appreciation. Thank you, Your Highness. I have something for you as well. He handed her a small wooden compass, old and well-worn. This belonged to my grandfather. He was an explorer on Earth before humans reached the stars. He taught me that the best journeys are the ones where you discover something unexpected. I cannot accept something so personal. Please. It reminds me that we are all explorers, finding our way through unknown territory. I hope it reminds you of the same thing. Vayara took the compass carefully. It was simple technology compared to Keltharian instruments, but it represented something more valuable: trust and friendship. As the evening ended, delegates began departing for their home worlds. Vayara would leave in the morning, returning to the Keltharian homeworld to present the treaty to the Imperial Council. She stood at her window one last time, looking at the stars. Kyle appeared in the doorway, having completed his final security check. Everything is secure, Your Highness. Your transport is ready for departure at dawn. Will I see you again? If the exchange program is approved, definitely. If not, perhaps at future diplomatic functions. I hope it is approved. The galaxy needs more bridges between species. Agreed. Vayara turned from the window. Kyle, I need you to know something. You changed how I see the entire universe. I arrived here believing Keltharians were superior to most species. You proved that every species has unique value. That is a gift worth more than any treaty. You gave me a gift too, Kyle said. You listened and learned. Many people cannot do that, no matter how intelligent they are. That takes real wisdom. Flattery does not suit you. It is not flattery. It is observation. They smiled at each other, and Vayara realized how comfortable she felt with this human. 3 days ago, the idea would have seemed impossible. Safe travels, Commander Harrison. Safe travels, Princess Vayara. Kyle bowed respectfully and left. Vayara watched him go, then looked down at the compass in her hand. It pointed north, always steady, always true. Perhaps that was what humanity offered the galaxy. Not telepathy or long lives or advanced technology, but steadiness, reliability, and the courage to stand up when others would fall down. The next morning, Vayara's ship departed Nexus Prime. She watched the station shrink in the viewport, thinking about everything that had happened. 2 weeks later, she received word that the exchange program had been approved by both governments. Commander Kyle Harrison would arrive on the Keltharian homeworld in 1 month to begin training the first class of warriors. Vayara smiled. The mining treaty would bring wealth to 17 species. But the friendship between Keltharia and humanity might be worth even more. She activated her communicator and sent a message to Kyle. Looking forward to continuing our work together. Try not to defeat all our warriors too easily. His response came quickly. I will be gentle. Mostly. Vayara laughed. The galaxy was full of different species with different strengths. But together, working as equals and respecting each other's unique abilities, they could accomplish amazing things. The compass sat on her desk, pointing steadily north. A reminder that the best journeys led to unexpected discoveries. She had gone to a summit, expecting to negotiate a mining treaty. She had found something better. She had found proof that the galaxy was bigger and more wonderful than she had imagined, and that humans, despite being young and different, had earned their place among the stars. Not through conquest or domination, but through courage, skill, and the simple dedication to doing what was right. That was a lesson Vayara would carry with her for the rest of her life. And it all started with one unremarkable human who turned out to be anything but.